Former White House aide to Donald Trump, Peter Navarro, is currently serving a 4-month sentence in Miami for a contempt of Congress conviction. But Navarro's time behind bars is not stopping him from sharing what he believes to be the former president's economic agenda if he's reelected. The former director of the White House National Trade Council predicts what a second term for Trump would look like in a new article published by Semaphore. He wrote his responses out using the email system at the prison's law library. Clever. The author of this article joins us now, Semaphore senior editor Gina Chon. Gina, thanks so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so I want to hear what he said, but first I want to understand better the mechanics of how this even came about. Did you just send him a question at a time and he responded on the prison's computer system, or how did this come about?
Well, so he is 74, so he got actually a coveted job in the law library where it's air conditioned, it's Miami, it's hot, so he is indoors, and so he has regular access to the prison email system and was able to write out his questions. I had a lot of them, so that made a phone conversation maybe a little logistically difficult, so we decided to go that route. But he's actually visited fairly often by Trump's inner circle, including his eldest son, Don Jr. So at one point, we had actually contemplated him handwriting the responses and handing it to Don Jr. during one of his visits, but it ended up taking longer, so we went the email route.
That is fascinating. Now let's talk about what he actually said, because for starters, he said that within the first 100 days of a Donald Trump return to office, that the Fed chair, Jerome Powell, will be gone. Why does he claim that that's the case?
Well, the Fed chair, Powell, has been a target of Trump's from the first term. He had called him an enemy of the people because he was not cutting rates in the way that Trump had hoped he would. And so they've been sort of bashing the Fed and his leadership for quite some time. So now if he does win in November, I think Powell has a big target on his back to cut rates much more quickly. They haven't even started yet. They have talked about higher for longer because the fight against inflation has been more challenging. If you see Trump come in January, I think you'll see that pressure really come to bear.
Navarro also told you that Trump would quickly seal the border, begin mass deportations. No surprise. Trump has said that as well. But he also said that Trump would impose more tariffs, not just on Chinese goods, but on goods from around the world.
Yeah, and that's, again, a continuation of his first term. One of the first things Trump did was impose steel tariffs, not only on China, but on U.S. allies in Europe, in Asia, and Japan, and elsewhere. And so I think we'll see that playbook continue. But in this case, he and Biden are actually on the same page. You just saw Biden put a bunch of tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles and various other products. And now they're sort of trying to outdo each other, basically, on the trade war front.
You know, sometimes when Trump's associates, allies go to jail or are convicted, he kind of distances himself from them. But based on what you're saying, with Don Trump Jr. visiting him in jail, with other members of the Trump inner circle visiting him in jail, it sounds like he is still in the inner circle and he is speaking for Trump when he answers those questions.
Yeah, I think so. And I think it's because the reason why he went to prison, it was for refusing to cooperate with the congressional probe into the January 6th riots at the Capitol. And because of that, he is seen as, you know, a loyal servant to the president. He took one for the team, essentially, by going to prison instead. And so he's actually hoping to speak at the Republican National Convention if he gets out in time. And the release date is right around that same period, so that could be a possibility.
Did he tell you what role he'd like to have in a second Trump term?
So that is one question I did ask that he chose not to answer, but I'm hoping that, you know, we kind of have this set up now that hopefully I can get him to answer some more, and that is definitely still on my list.